big issues that we're working on as a national party. Really our work falls into two areas. The first area is to work on the national message. And what that means is to set the kind of ocean in which our candidates will swim over the next year and a half. That's a daily job and a daily grind, a lot like the governor's difficulties with the Providence Journal, in which I saw firsthand, unfortunately. We have that issue nationwide, and there is a terrible media bias out there. It's unmistakable. It exists. It's real, and we fight it every day, and we just keep fighting it and keep fighting it. I will say one thing I've learned from being in Washington is that we were probably a little too gentle here, and I regret that now after I've seen how hard you can really fight it. I think maybe we should have. I guess I wish I would have known that. I think we could fight the press here a little bit more upright. But in any event, so that's one, kind of working every day to set the national kind of political tone. And then two is to build a successful nationwide political organization. And to do that, we've got about 150 people in the building. We've got 11 divisions: finance, political, communication, and research, just to name a few. They churn out work every day. It is such a fun place to be. I am so lucky to have this opportunity. It's all great people with just working every day and laughing. And I mean, we don't have a White House to answer to. We sit back, and if I could ever tell you, I'll give you an example. The ABC thing about Obamacare, when we wrote him the nasty letter and said you shouldn't have a town hall that doesn't include the Republican point of view. That was just some guys thinking, hey, what should we do about that? Well, let's send them a letter. And then somebody else said, why don't we make the letter public? That would really sing them. And, it caused a firestorm. We do that every night, and we have a ball. So we're really lucky on that front. But that's kind of what we're doing, and then working with the National Republican Congressional Committee to organize campaigns nationwide, working with the National Republican Senate Committee to organize campaigns nationwide, and working very closely with the state parties. And what the state parties, in the nature of building a national political organization, we started with kind of a regional tour of the country, where the chairman went out and met with all the national committee men and women and chair people from the different state parties regionally, and we talked about best practices, and we talked about what they do, and we got kind of a dialogue opened up inside the RNC as an organization. And now we are having a 3-week series of ED schools, where right now Lamas Vargas, the ED from Rhode Island, is actually in the building and going through a week-long school to just get reacquainted with some organizing methods, some fundraising methods, those kind of things. And at the end of that, the goal will be to have 50 state plans that all follow the same template, so we can adequately divide up resources and hopefully do so in an effort to build state parties and not in an effort to support past recruiting. We're going to be involved in races, but when I got there, I kind of realized that recruiting was everything. The states got the money based on the recruits, and states that couldn't recruit didn't get the money. And what that did was, in my opinion, that kind of builds a legacy of failure in certain areas. And those state partners need to be propped up so that they can get into a position where they can do the recruiting. So working with the other two committees and working internally, we're trying to kind of turn the tide on how we've thought about things in the past and see if we can't run a better party that way. And that's under the leadership of Michael Steele, and I think he's doing a great job, and it's a solution. It's really a nationwide solution, I think, and it's timely, and I think it'll benefit us nationwide. So that's kind of what's going on. I can give you a couple of anecdotal pieces of information, and then if anybody wants a question asked or something like that, I'm happy to do whatever. On the healthcare fight, that falls into the category of kind of setting the national debate. We were, a few months ago, a couple months, month and a half ago, the town was on its ear. Pharma and AARP and the American Medical Association were running to the White House to cut deals. Somebody much smarter than me said, geez, it looks like the people are paying the cannibals to eat them last right now. So, that's a pretty good way to look at it. We I have to say, Chairman Steele came up and said, you know, one night it was kind of late and we were all sitting around, and he said, at some point we got to put our money where our mouth is. This is not right, you know what I mean? Like, this is something that we don't stand for strongly. And boy, we had some smart people come in and say, it's done. They're going to have a bill done by August recess. Nothing you can do about it. They got the votes, they got industry, they got K Street. It's toast. And by the way, Chairman, the Democrats have the politics dead on. They're for healthcare reform, and healthcare reform is lowering the cost of healthcare for Americans, and you're the Republican Party, and the Republican Party is for no reform. You're done. And I gotta give the guy credit. He said, when all the experts left, he was like, you know, I don't think that's true. I think that we have to fight this. Like, isn't this what we're here for, Captain? I'm kind of a fighter, so I'm like, yeah, that's right. That's right, it's what we're here for, let's get them. So we brought some folks in, and we developed a kind of an 8 or 10 week strategy. And Michael Steele deserves credit for having the same kind of bravery that Don Kachiri has. He took on all those industry groups head on. Pharma, who's selling out its membership. The AARP, they lost 60,000 members.
6,000.
Well, it's 60,000. The AARP has it both ways right now. At the national level, they're telling everybody in Congress and the Senate, we don't support any particular thing. But then their locals are having press conferences, encouraging Democrats to get back and get health care reform done. They're trying to trick you. And we're calling them on it. And people aren't very happy. We have a series of ads, web ads, that are going out to places like the Villages and other senior places to try to organize seniors. Next week, Monday morning and Tuesday morning on National Good Morning America one day, and the early show one day, the chairman's rolling out what we're referring to as the Senior Bill of Rights. Because here's where the Democrats are now. That was the day when we were told don't bother, and here's where we are now. The Democrats aren't for health care reform, they're for health insurance reform. And they've admitted that. And the president now refers to it as health insurance reform. And it's in press statement after press statement from the Democrat National Committee, they refer to it as health insurance reform. They're admitting that this was never about health care reform after all. All we want to do is provide insurance for everybody. On whose back? Well, we're going to take $500 billion out of Medicare. So they're going to cut Medicare, and AARP is okay with that. I think that'll change. I have a feeling that the AARP is going to come to their senses. They're not going to do tort reform, and the American Medical Association thinks that's health care reform. That's going to change. We're on them every day. We're driving the message. Back in the days of 1993, everybody said, Ken, run those Harry and Louise ads. That was soft money. The party could raise corporate money for issue advocacy. It was a $100 million ad campaign. The whole budget of the RNC is not $100 million. With the cost of funds in it, is not $100 million. We couldn't ever do that. We had to do this with duct tape and twigs. And we're starting to get there. We're driving through. We've got the thing completely flip-flopped. The Democrats are in an awful way on health care. Now they're not for health care reform, they're for health insurance reform. Now the only party out there that's for actually lowering the cost of health care for Americans is the Republican Party. And we've got a platform coming out in a couple of weeks that you'll see where we talk about 5 things you can do by Christmas to lower health care costs.